He collapsed on the same pitch where he began, 16 years apart. Same stadium, same city, same grass in New Jersey. And now it was over. Neymar Jr. came off the bench in the 67th minute of Brazil's round of 16 match against Norway on July 5, 2026. He scored a stoppage time penalty, his 80th goal in 130 appearances for Brazil. And when the final whistle blew, with his country eliminated 2-1, he slumped to the ground and could not stop crying. I tried. Now it's over. I started here. I finished here. 6 words. The entire arc of the greatest Brazilian footballer of his generation, compressed into a single sentence spoken through tears on the turf of MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Here is what makes this story unlike any other in the history of this sport. On August 10, 2010, an 18-year-old from Santos, Brazil, walked onto the pitch at MetLife Stadium for the first time wearing the yellow shirt of the Seleção. It was a friendly against the United States. He scored with a header after 28 minutes. Brazil won 2-0. That was his first cap, his first goal for his country, his first step onto the biggest stage of his life. And it happened here, in New Jersey, 20 minutes from Manhattan, in the same stadium where on July 19th of this year, someone will lift the FIFA World Cup trophy. 16 years passed between those two nights. 16 years of genius, controversy, injury, brilliance, and heartbreak. And when the end came, it came in the exact same place it began. Erling Haaland scored twice in the final 11 minutes, his 6th and 7th goals of the tournament, to send Norway into the World Cup quarterfinals for the first time in their history. Brazil, the most decorated team in the sport, was eliminated in the round of 16 for the first time since 1990, their earliest exit in 36 years. Neymar's penalty arrived too late to change any of that. But it changed something else. It made him only the second Brazilian player in history to score in 4 different World Cups. The first was Pelé. That sentence needs a moment to land. Only Pelé. Before Neymar, no Brazilian had ever done what he did across 4 tournaments. And yet the player whose name will forever be linked with failure at the World Cup, the player Brazil held so much hope for across so many summers, leaves his international career with the same World Cup legacy as the greatest player who ever lived. Except Pelé won 3. That is the story of Neymar and the World Cup. Pelé's peer in records, never his peer in the final result. The closest Neymar ever came was 2014. The World Cup was in Brazil. He was 22 years old and the most dangerous player in the tournament. Brazil had made it through the group stage, through the round of 16, and into the quarterfinals against Colombia. In the 88th minute of that match, with Brazil leading and the semi-final within reach, Colombian defender Juan Camilo Zúñiga drove his knee into Neymar's lower back. The official diagnosis, a fracture of the 3rd lumbar vertebra. He was stretchered off the pitch. He watched the rest of the tournament from a hospital bed and a television screen. Without him, Brazil played Germany in the semi-final on home soil. The result was 7-1. The most humiliating defeat in the country's football history, played in front of their own fans, in their own country, in the tournament that was supposed to be their redemption. Neymar watched it happen from a chair, with his back in a brace, unable to do anything. He came back in 2018. He came back in 2022. Each time, Brazil carried the weight of a nation that had been waiting since 2002 for another title. Each time, the tournament ended before it should have. Each time, Neymar carried more of the blame than any one player should. And then came the 2 surgeries and the 981 days and the comeback in Miami, and the 14 minutes and the bench and the frustration. The entire story of this final World Cup, documented, talked about, wondered over, ended tonight with a penalty in stoppage time, and a man sitting alone on the grass trying to process 16 years of everything at once. Vinicius Jr. was the first to reach him, then Rafinha. Both knelt beside him. Neither said anything that mattered more than being there. The man who started here, finished here. But it was not a quiet ending. Moments before the final whistle, after converting the penalty, Neymar stood over the Norwegian goalkeeper and said something. A lip reader confirmed it. "I'm number 1." The goalkeeper laughed and pushed him away. Even in the last seconds of his international career, Neymar could not resist being exactly who he has always been. Brilliant, provocative, impossible to ignore, and ultimately unable to change the result. That is the paradox that will define him forever. He is Brazil's greatest scorer. He played in 4 World Cups, scored in every single one, matched Pelé in doing so. He carried a country's hope across his back, literally in 2014 when that back was fractured. and never once dropped it, even when it crushed him. He just never got to put it down in victory. For Americans watching on Fox tonight, the MetLife connection is not a small detail. The same stadium where Neymar scored his first goal for Brazil now holds the moment he announced his last. And in 2 weeks, on July 19th, that same stadium will host the World Cup final. One story ends here. Another is still being written. Neymar walked out of that stadium tonight without a World Cup title, without a trophy that matched everything else he built, without the ending the story deserved. He walks out with 80 goals, 4 World Cups, and a record shared only with Pelé. And with the memory of a night in August 2010, a teenager, a header, a 2-0 win that started everything in this same city, on this same grass, 16 years ago. When you think about the arc of Neymar's career, from that first goal here in 2010 to the tears here in 2026, was his international career a tragedy, or was it something more complicated than that? And with Neymar gone and Brazil rebuilding, which young player do you think carries the Seleção forward to the next World Cup? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching The World Game, and I'll see you in the next story.